are we doing today? How is everyone? Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday. Hi, Jules. Hi, Crazy Dad. How are we? How are we? It's a it's a crazy packed news day today. Welcome back, besties. It is news for people that have a job. I'm Jamie Delphine, of course, coming to you live from Los Angeles. Monday! Monday's the best. It's Monday after a 3-day weekend where the world did not, in fact, take a day off with you. Before we get into it, and there is a lot to get into, the Supreme Court cleaned out its desk before summer break and left us a mess. Y'all, we have to do the thing. Because you know what happened? Every time we don't do the thing, something happens. So, I'm going to do the thing, and then at the end, chat will just repeat, all praise the node. Here we go. May our bit rate be stable. May our frames never drop. May the cold, unfeeling data centers that govern our digital reach look upon us with favor. May our thumbnails be clicked, and may our titles be searched. May the engagement metrics flow like a river to the sea. That's it. We've done the thing. Say it after me. Chat, repeat after me. All praise the node. Wonderful. All right. Grab your emotional support iced coffee and your emotional support water or hydration beverage. And whatever your emotional support, I don't know, the flavor beverage. Usually I got like energy, flavor, and hydration. That's usually my mix. I don't know. Every neurodivergent rocks it differently. But grab your drinks because it's July and my studio is a convection oven. I'm sure you can kind of hear the buzz from the air conditioner. Here's what happened while you were trying to grill in peace. Starting August 1st, if you are a new Section 8 voucher holder in Los Angeles, the amount of rent the city will cover just dropped by 10%. And not because rent went down. Rent has never once gone down. Just so we're clear. Because the money for the vouchers got cut in Washington. So, here's the situation. HOCLA, that's the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles, HOCLA, the agency that runs Section 8 vouchers for tens of thousands of families here, just announced that federal budget cuts forced them to lower how much rent they can stabilize. New leases signed on or after August 1st get hit with the 10% reduction in the payment standard. Now, that's the ceiling on how much like the vouchers can pay towards rent. And the so-called good news, if you already have a lease, your payments are not being touched right now. You're fine as long as you don't move. As long as you never move. As long as you never ever move. The second you try to relocate after August 1st for a job, for a bigger place because you had a kid, to get away from a slumlord that won't fix that leaky toilet that leaves a small Walden pond in the middle of your bathroom, or won't fix the AC in July, you will get recalculated at that lower rate. So the message to the poorest renters in Los Angeles is stay exactly where you are and do not improve your life. And here's the part that should make your eye twitch. The land, like this land's, sorry. Here's the part that'll make your eye twitch. This lands the exact same week that the city's new rent cap took effect. So, as of July 1st, rent stabilized units in LA can go up a maximum of 4% a year. And that's down from 8%. And that is a real win tenant organizers fought for. That is super valid. But watch what happens when you stack the two. Because now there's a limited amount that the landlords can raise their rent, but there's also a limited amount that these vouchers can cover. So the city lowers what a landlord can charge, the feds lower what the voucher will pay for, and the families are going to get caught in the middle of those two scissor blades. It's just not good news for the working renter. So let me just go ahead and break this down. Let's get our working class analysis here. So the context here. By the way, how does everybody feel about that? Anybody got anything to add? Is anybody getting affected by this? I hope nobody stays in a Hakala apartment because it's just got tons of rules to begin with. But let's go ahead and get that figured out. There's a lot of people that are relying on this, and it's going to affect the housing supply overall. It's going to have an exponential effect because the private market doesn't build housing poor people can afford. Like, that's just how it works. So the public covers that gap. And if you shrink the public share and the gap does not vanish, like that's not how it works. It just moves on to the tenant's back. Like, that's where the charges go every time. Just like the tariffs. They said the businesses were going to absorb the tariffs. Chat, that's not how that works. So the data point for me, and the data point that lands, is that 10% off the payment standard for every new lease starting August 1st is that on a $2,000 apartment, that's roughly $200 a month the family has to find just to stay in their apartment. So out of an income that already qualified them for low income, they now have to find, like, I mean, most apartments, most houses, it's like, and I mean, and again, like, crazy dad, I'm really glad to hear this doesn't affect you. Unfortunately, Los Angeles, as I explained, pretty much every news for people that have a job, what we're doing here is gonna affect you because we are the best version of how the government can be ran for poor people. So I'm not saying it's great, and I'm definitely not saying it's perfect, but if what we're doing is working, people can copy it. If what we're doing has been sabotaged, how do you think the other places in the country that aren't doing things as well as we are, asterisk on the word well, how do you think it's going to fare in, like, Iowa? Like, how do you think the affordable housing, the Section 8, the HUD homes, how do you think things are going down in Nebraska, in Montana, in the states that don't have as robust systems for housing? So my take, class lens, looking at it through a class lens, notice who did not get a 10% cut. So not the landlords cashing the checks. They're not being told, hey, you now have to take 10% less for the rent on your unit. It's not the developers. It's not the people building affordable housing that are getting the tax abatements. They're not being told you now have to shore up an additional 10% in development costs that'll somehow play into the tenants' housing costs. Although don't ask me to show that math. Somebody in DC, somebody in Washington decided that this line item was more expendable than a tax break for Amazon. And a mother in South Los Angeles is going to pay for it. That's boo-boo. That's completely boo-boo. So I guess one last bit on this, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Like, you don't need a housing voucher to feel the effects of this. I can't iterate that enough. Like I want to reiterate that and make sure that's super clear. Like when voucher families get pushed into cheaper units, they compete with everyone that's at like the bottom of the market. And that pressure, when all the lower, cheaper units are gone, the pressure rolls uphill. That affects every renter in the city. All of the cheap units are gone. And if the housing vouchers don't let them get into a unit, then they therefore have to go for the cheapest unit not in the voucher system. Meaning that now cheapest unit is gone, justifying the prices of more expensive housing. And that affects everybody. So, yeah, the message to the poorest renters in Los Angeles is stay exactly where you are. Do not improve your life. March directly into the scissor blades. Man. So, and we got a lot going on with Measure ULA, lots of other housing measures, but the next thing I wanted to talk about is the Supreme Court. And y'all, oh my God, the Supreme Court ended its term last week the way it always does, dropping the biggest decisions on the way out the door and just leaving town for the summer. That is the strategy. That is what we see every single year. We got 4 rulings that are literally going to affect like just average Americans' lives. And they literally just like Kobe'd them like as they were leaving. See, Supreme Court Justice, Chief Justice Roberts, Kobe. So let's get into it. This is a good one first. We'll start get good. We're defending rights. We're literally defending human rights. This is the good one. So on June 30th, the court ruled 3-6 that the Constitution guarantees birthright citizenship to basically every child born in this country. Chief Justice Roberts wrote it. It shut down the administration's executive order that tried to deny citizenship to babies that are born here to undocumented parents or parents here on temporary visas. That is the 14th Amendment doing exactly what it was written to do after the Civil War. And the court, this court, which didn't think they would, they backed it. So we're going to take the win. Because they're rare, chat. This is the Supreme Court going, yeah, that's what the Constitution says. So do that. Jesus Christ, the bar is low. Okay. Now the ones that cost you. Because same court, day before, gutted a 91-year-old precedent and ruled that the president can fire members of independent agencies at will. And the Federal Trade Commission, which is the agency that goes after price fixing and like scam companies, the president can now clear it out whenever he wants. Just flush. So, you know, an independent agency that can be fired the second that it annoys the White House is not an independent agency. That's a hood ornament. And they didn't carve out the Federal Reserve. So the guy watching interest rates gets to keep his job, which tells you exactly whose independence the court actually cares about and the one that matters the most for everything else tonight. In another 6-3, the court erased limits on how much political parties can spend in coordination with their own candidates. So that's the wrong direction. That's a decades-old campaign finance law that's now just gone. So the translation there is more money flowing more directly from the party machine straight into campaigns with fewer walls in between. So just hold that thought. Because in 20 minutes, I'm going to show you what that looks like in a real race. So remember that I said this. And the last one, and I'm going to be straight with y'all. The court that also ruled that states can ban transgender girls from playing in school sports. This is the same one. I'm not going to pretend this is not a group of kids getting singled out by the highest court in the country, because it is. This is the same court that ruled that you can't ban transgender girls from playing in school sports. They ruled that. So now what? I want you to notice the timing. In 1 week, this court expanded presidential firing power, opened the money spigot for corporations to run our politics even wider, and the story engineered to dominate your feed is that a handful of teenagers who want to play soccer is somehow affecting the lives of the average American. And that's not an accident. When the powerful are consolidating power, the culture war is the magic trick that keeps you just looking at the other hand. Don't look at this one, look at this one. So I kind of stumbled through that. I want to roll through it again because it's really important. I'm going to clip this, so I want to say it clearly because I'm just like flustered on this one. Because this is the last one. And I'm going to be straight with you, chat. The court also ruled that states can ban transgender girls from playing school sports. And I'm not going to pretend like that's not a group of the most powerful court in the nation singling out a group of kids. That's the highest court in the country. And I want you to notice the time. Because in 1 week, the Supreme Court expanded presidential firing power and opened the spigot for money to flow from campaigns directly into our politics from corporations even wider. And that's not an accident, because when the powerful are consolidating like their power, the culture war is the magic trick that they use to keep us from looking at one hand and not noticing the trick. Don't look at this hand, look at this one. And now we've lost our rights. They should just get rid of gendered school sports like every kid's movie in the 90s told me. Honestly, yes. I got in a debate about this. Who was I debating? Was it, you know what? I'm not even going to say her name. She doesn't need the plug. I was debating a trans woman who at one point had ran for office and is somewhat of a public figure. That's what I'll say. Actually, I think I got into it with a leftist podcast about this 2 weeks ago also. This is a reoccurring topic. And physiologically, there's no reason to separate boys and girls in sports. Like, there's not enough performance difference. Now, that's not to say we don't need weight classes. Because even in a gendered sport, like let's say you have like boys wrestling, you have like, what are they called? Featherweight or heavyweight or whatever the heck they call them. They have weight classes. So perhaps instead of having gendered sports, we could just have weight classes, which honestly makes a whole lot more sense. When it comes to like body development and like puberty, like the number one hormones that affect the body are going to be testosterone and estrogen, and mostly those bodies, the larger bodies, whether male or female, have more testosterone. It's not even like a male female thing, it's a hormone thing. So, yeah, that's kind of my take on that. Um, I completely agree. Boxing, wrestling, yes, exactly, chat. That's what I'm talking about. Because, like I mentioned at the beginning of the story, the end of term SCOTUS dumps are a pattern. Like, the wins get announced loud. Like, that's the point. The power grabs get announced quiet. And both land in the same 48 hours that everything comes out. And the coverage just blurs together. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm talking to y'all. That's why I want to go through it. That's why I'm going to clip it. And honestly, not to toot my own horn, my clips are getting traction. So let's keep going, chat. Like, let's keep telling people about this stuff. I feel like people are starting to wake up. I mean, democratic socialists are starting to become popular. Whoever thought that was going to happen? But again, the data point that lands a 91-year-old precedent on agency independence, that the president cannot fire these independent agencies. These are what keeps our government from being corrupt. Having an FDA, having an FCC, having a education department. These things separate from the executive branch is what makes sure that they have, checks and balances. Do you remember what those were? Because I almost forgot. And if these things get overturned, the consumer protections don't exist, because the consumer protection agencies just become an extension of the government. And when our government has become this entity that just operates to consolidate power and to grant impunity to the corporations, there is no consumer protection, because it's all the same agency. The corporations, the government are kind of becoming the same thing. My take, class lens, looking at it through the class lens, if we strip it down to who gets the power and who loses protection, which ultimately is what's most important. Birthright citizenship, that's protection preserved. That's people that moved here to become a part of this country and, earn a living, and they came here for a better life. We want those people fighting to help us make this thing better. Those are the people that literally left a terrible place to find something better. That's who you want on the team. So birthright citizenship, that's a consumer protection. Then agency firing, like power to the executive, like that's stripping that power away. Like we've now eliminated birthright citizenship, that's eliminating a protection. We've now eliminated the protections of those agencies from being fired by the executive branch. That's stripping that power. Campaign spending, we're connecting the pipeline from the corporation to the political party. That's less consumer protection. And then trans kids, like trans kids in sports, protection just stripped. Literally, that there's no mechanism. They just took the power, and they took it from the group with the least ability to fight back. So I guess the common ground angle here is, like, whenever you find situations like this, whatever you think about any single one of these things that I'm talking about, a court that hands the president more control and the donors more access is not working for people that have a job. Like, the culture war is designed to make you argue with your coworker instead of noticing these other three things. That's my take. So, I just want to also call back that there's also the asylum ruling from a couple weeks back, which is blocking people from even applying at the border for visas. So it's the same court. It's the same direction. They're trying to keep the working people that want to come here and make a better life from getting involved in our country. They want to give the power to the corporations. They want to stop those agencies that have the checks and the balances that we heard about growing up as kids that don't exist anymore, apparently. So, one last wrap up on this and we'll move on. An independent agency that can be fired the second it annoys the White House isn't independent. It's a hood ornament. And again, the culture war, it's a magic trick. Don't look at this one. Don't look at this one. Don't look. Don't look. It's gone. The old switcheroo. All right. So we're about to have I'm going to test you. Here's the test. Are you ready? Chat. Remember that campaign finance ruling I told you to hold on to 30 minutes ago? Good. Because there's a Senate race in Michigan happening right now that shows you exactly what unlimited political money does to your ability to pick your own candidate. Let me explain. So, here's the setup. Michigan has an open Senate seat and a Democratic primary on August 4th. Last week, it was a three-way race. 3. Then Mallory McMorrow dropped out on Sunday, and now it is 2 people. We have in this race Haley Stevens, that's the establishment moderate, who I call establishment Democrat. And we have Abdul El Sayed, the progressive, who used to run the Detroit Health Department. So, the most recent poll has El Sayed ahead. 42 to 33. So 4-2 to 3-3. He's winning. Are you still with me? Chat. There's a lot of numbers. So watch what happens next. AIPAC. Boo! The pro-Israel lobby, through its super PAC, has poured somewhere north of $10 million. And by some counts, $16 million into that one race. Almost all of it to boost Stevens and bury El Sayed. $16 million, chat. 16 million in a single Senate primary to close a gap that the voters themselves opened up. Here's the kicker. You know I had a kicker. The part that connects back to the Supreme Court. So a poll of these same Michigan Democratic primary voters found 64% said they would be less likely to back a candidate funded by AIPAC. That's 64%. Only 10% said it made them more likely. So the money is being spent to push voters towards the exact thing most of them just told you they do not want. That's not persuasion. That's volume. That's drowning out the room. And the court last week just made it easier to buy a bigger speaker. Love. What? All right. um yeah, so it's not about like who you like on Israel policy or anything else. Oh, hold on. I forgot I got to do a report. I always forget to report these dummies. Cool. All right. So it's not about who you like on Israel policy or anything else. It is about a mechanism. When one outside group can drop $16 million into a primary, the size of the megaphone stops matching the size of the support. That doesn't make any sense. So, for me, the data point that lands is that the candidate is up 42 to 33. And 64% of voters say AIPAC money turns them off. And the money flows to the AIPAC candidate anyway. Goes to the other candidate. So what does that tell you, chat? Don't worry about it, chat. Just taking care of some stuff. How are you? How is Burkina Faso? Faso. How are you doing today? What time is it over there? It's other side of the planet. So the common ground angle is that like left. Oh, thank you so much for the follow. So left, right, libertarian, whatever. Almost nobody outside the donor class thinks that the answer to American politics is more anonymous millions. Like, this is one of the most cross-partisan gut feelings there is. Like, you don't have to agree on the candidates to agree that this looks like a rigged election. I hear they're a big tomato producer. That's cool. I like tomatoes. I'm a big fan. I have a tomato garden. I have Romas and I have Big Boys. So I'm also a tomato producer. But also, real quick, one last thing, and then we'll move on to the next story. So my take on the power like aspect of it, like if we're looking at this through the class analysis lens, is that money in politics is not a side issue. Like even if you're talking to people on the other team, on the other side, like this is the issue under all the other issues. Like every fight that you care about, whether it's housing, wages, healthcare, everything runs into the same wall, which is that people writing the biggest checks are not the people clocking in. It's not the people that are actually getting affected by these policies that put $16 million into a campaign. People put $16 million into a campaign because they want to stop a candidate from helping the people that clock in. That's how things work. So, enough about Abdul Saeed. We'll go ahead and move on. I just want to have, let me go ahead and say, I support Abdul Saeed. If you're not following Abdul Saeed, he's got a really amazing campaign. The platform really, really helps the average person. I can't vote for him because I don't live there, but that guy is who should win. He needs your support if you live there. Quick gut check, real quick. Quick gut check. Oh no. Oh, another free cliff. It's all good. Fixed. All right, back to it. Quick gut check. When you heard the word tariff over the last year, did you picture a foreign company writing a check? Because the receipts are in, and the company writing the check is you at the grocery store in real time. What'd you think, chat? Did you think you were the one that was going to be paying for these tariffs? Do you remember all of the hundreds of times we were told that companies were going to be the ones to pay the tariffs? Do you remember? Because I remember. It was totally promised to us that we were not going to be the ones paying the tariffs. So, cut to today. The average US tariff rate right now is between 10 and 13%, depending on the product. The highest since the 1940s. And the analysis on who eats it is brutal. It's absolutely brutal. American consumers and businesses, not foreign businesses, American businesses are absorbing about 96% of the cost. Foreign exporters, the people this was supposedly aimed at, eat about 4%. That's not at all what we were told a year ago. At all. That is not what we were told. So, in dollars, on your table, the Tax Foundation pegs it at roughly a $700 tax increase per household this year. And some estimates say $1,300 if the current policies stay. And that is baked into the price of a car, the appliance that you're looking at, the thing that your kid needs for school. Like, groceries have technically cooled to about 2% inflation, like year over year, which sounds nice until you remember that is 2% on top of the prices already up about 25% since 2019. So the bleeding slowed. Nobody gave the blood back. Yeah, gas for some reason. Here's the tell. So a chunk of these tariffs expire in mid-July unless Congress extends them. So in the next couple of weeks, you find out whether the American people who told you this protected American workers are willing to let the tax on American workers actually lapse. Are they going to renew? I got a feeling they're going to renew. What do you think, chat? So, a tariff, just for context, if you're tuning in and you don't know what I'm talking about, that's a tax on imports. And importers pass that tax on to you at the register. That's how tariffs work. So calling it a tax on China is like calling your rent a tax on your landlord. Like somebody else sends the invoice, you pay it. That's not a tax on the third party. What's up, Cardoza Socialista? How you doing? And for me, the data point that lands is that consumers are eating 96% of the costs, chat. Foreign exporters are only eating 4%. We were told this was not going to affect like regular people. That's what we were told. Thank you for the follow, AMO. I appreciate you. Oh, right now we're going off on tariffs. We're just ranting about tariffs. I mean, honestly, like here's my analysis. If you want the class lens analysis. So a tariff is one of the most regressive taxes there is. That's just my take on it. And $700 is a rounding error for a rich household. But a car repair, if if you're working, like if you clock in $700, that could completely throw off a whole month's budget. But for, you know, most of the people that donate to political campaigns, $700 is a kick in the shin. And cost of living is the number one issue that voters name across the whole political spectrum. And this is a policy you can watch show up in your receipts. Like when you go to the store, if you look at a receipt from last year and compare it to now, you can't not see it. America has toppled my country's economy again. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I really wish our government would stop. I wish we could figure out a way to get our government to stop doing that. A communist party would help. If we could get our communist party fixed, maybe we could get our country fixed. I don't know. DSA is not a communist party, but they're getting some momentum. And we've got Trump full-blown calling them communists. I'm hoping for a bit of the Streisand effect. You know? He's like, communists are terrible. Communism's the worst thing to happen in the country. I'm pretty sure all of the like Gen Z that's like hating the way the world is right now are going to be, encouraged to become communists because the guy that's making everything terrible is telling them that's the worst thing they could be. I hope that happens. Got a good feeling about that. So again, calling a tariff on a tax on another country is like calling your rent a tax on your landlord. That's just not how it works. But we are now kind of getting towards the end. Real quick, I'm going to do what I like to call the lightning round. If you're here hanging out, I'm just going to read this. I have this written down just so I can clip it. It's just sort of a summary of all of these political stories that I just talked about. By the way, if you want to check out any of the citations on any of the topics or articles that I've talked about, everything is in the Discord. Just check out the News Clips channel in the Discord and feel free to ask questions or chat about it in there. I'm always happy to chat in the Discord. Speed round. Grab the wheel. 1. Right now in Provo, Utah, the preliminary hearing started for Tyler Robinson, the 23-year-old accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk at that Utah Valley University event last September. Prosecutors say they have a mountain of evidence, and they are seeking the death penalty. It's a 5-day hearing just to decide if it goes to full trial. So whatever you thought of Charlie Kirk, and I know this audience has thoughts, a political assassination is poison for every single one of us because it makes every side more afraid and more armed. And fear is the worst possible operating system for a country. 2, our president had a weekend. He spent the 4th of July, America's 250th birthday, and is now flying straight to Ankara for the NATO summit, where his whole mission is to strong arm allies into spending 5% of their economies on defense by 2035. And in the middle of all that, he found time to personally call the president of FIFA to get an American soccer player's red card suspension overturned so he could play against Belgium. Europe's soccer body said FIFA crossed a red line. And I just want you to sit with the fact that the same guy negotiating global military budgets is also working the refs at the World Cup. Priorities. So 3, and this one is a real win, so let it land. Los Angeles kept County J, Measure J, alive in the new budget. That is the measure that locks in at least 10% of the county's flexible money for Care First stuff. That's job training, youth programs, housing, alternatives to incarceration instead of jails. Advocates spent weeks packing budget hearings to protect it, and the county held the line. More than $300 million preserved for next year. So when people show up, it works. That's the whole lesson. And 4, fast. The June jobs report said 4.2% unemployment, which sounds great until you see that 7,200,000 people left the workforce in a single month, and labor participation hit a 50-year low. The number looks good, partly because a lot of people gave up looking. File that next to everything else tonight. And that's it. That's it. That's the lightning round. So if anybody has any questions about anything, feel free to ask them. Oh, who is Charlie Kirk? Charlie Kirk was a far-right political commentator here in the United States. He was sort of the poster child for an organization known as Turning Point. And Turning Point is literally trying to radicalize like students on college campuses to be like Christo-fascist. I don't know any other way to say it. It's very like Christian-based, plays into patriarchy. It is a far-right organization. He was assassinated last year. So the person that assassinated him is currently standing trial. So, real quick, I'm going to do a 1-minute recap. I'm going to hang out and chat for a minute. And then I have to run. I actually have a live comedy show tonight. If anybody's in Los Angeles and wants to catch me doing live comedy, you can do that tonight. Just check my links in the bio. All the information for that is in there. 1 minute recap. All right, chat. 1 minute because you have a job and you don't have time to keep up with the news. Hakla is cutting a new Section 8 vouchers. Good luck, break a leg. Thank you, Franicus. Like Catholic Christian. Yeah, like Catholic. I think he was more Protestant. I think he's Protestant and not necessarily Catholic. Here in the States, Catholic isn't really the most common. It's like Protestant, and in the South, like Baptist. Okay, real quick, 1 minute. Hakla is cutting new Section 8 vouchers 10% on August 1st because DC cut the money. The same week, LA's new 4% rent cap kicks in. The Supreme Court... I messed that one up. Let me try it again. Chat, I'm going to get this one. It's only 1 minute. It's 1 minute, but I'm trying to get it in 1 minute so I can clip it and put it on Instagram. That's what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to repeat myself. Let me try this one more time. All right. Ooh, and we can clip it on Twitch. If somebody could clip it on Twitch for me, I'd appreciate it. Here we go. Hakla is cutting new Section 8 vouchers 10% on August 1st because DC cut the money. The same week, LA's new 4% rent cap kicks in. The Supreme Court kicked birthright citizenship. Oh, they didn't kick it. They saved it. Sorry, I need to get this closer to my thing so I can read it without messing up. Can you go over, please? I'm trying to read you. There we go. All right. I'm going to get it this time. I know it. Chat, I can read. I swear to God, I can read. I can read words. I can read words. Watch me. I'm going to read words. Here we go. Watch me. I'm going to read words. Watch. Hakla is cutting new Section 8 vouchers 10% on August 1st because DC cut the money. The same week, LA's new 4% rent cap kicks in. The Supreme Court saved birthright citizenship, then handed the president power to fire independent agencies, blew open political spending limits, and let states ban trans kids from school sports, all in the same 48 hours. AIPAC is dumping up to $16 million into a Michigan Senate primary to beat a progressive who is winning, in a state where 64% of voters say that money turns them off. Americans are eating 96% of the tariff costs $700 to $1,300 a household this year, with a batch expiring mid-July unless Congress renews it. I think they will. And the Kirk assassinations hearing began in Utah. Trump went from July 4th to NATO to refereeing the World Cup, and LA County protected Measure J's Care First money. That's the week. You're caught up. You have a job to get to, so you're welcome. Nice. I got it. Chat. Clip it if you can. I'd appreciate it. All right, besties. That was the news. And got 5 minutes, and then we're going to do a raid. But what'd everybody think about the news today? Was there anything that stuck out? Anything that made you feel good? Because, I mean, I'm actually pretty jazzed about Measure J. Us having money for housing in Los Angeles, again, is going to affect the rest of the country. Just we're the example. Like, people look to us like, how do we do this thing? How do we figure this out? Measure J's good. They protect birthright citizenship. The birthright citizenship was huge. That was a big deal. That's literally the Constitution. Anybody have anything in their country that's going on news-wise that you want to share? I'm happy to learn about the world as well. They don't teach us about world politics here in the States. It's up to us to figure it out. I don't remember learning much about world politics, like, in any level of education, sadly. Like, you have to take, like, world politics. The rest of the world just pays attention. Our news is really good at the, don't pay attention. Don't look, pay attention to this hand, not that hand. That's basically what our news is made for. But yeah, that's the show. If nobody has anything to share with me, that's the show, and it was a heavy one. So thank you for staying with me. As I mentioned earlier, every single source is in the Discord. Go read them yourself. Don't just trust a woman on the internet, even this one. And, real quick, chat. Real quick, I want to plug a sponsor. Because, honestly, before I get the raid, I gotta worry about the bag. It's about the money, chat. Real talk. I need your support. I've been reading Supreme Court opinions all week, all weekend, and my eyes have filed a formal complaint with management. And Zenni is where I get my blue light glasses, because I refuse to pay optician prices in markup on what is essentially a disability device. So head to Zenni, or better yet, go to my website, jamiedelphine.com, and go to the deals page, or the thing that says support the stream, and check out Zenni. Or you can use my code jamiedelphine at checkout. You can get the best prices, get all the features, and whatever you paid for a pair of glasses at your optometrist, you're going to get like 2 or 3 pairs from Zenni with all the features. You're welcome. Just use my link or use Jamie Delphine at checkout. I love my Zennis. They are awesome. So that's it, y'all. That's the show. That's the ad plug. We're going to go ahead and raid out. Newsletter goes out this week. The link for that is also in the bio. If you're not yet following the Substack is a written recap of Monday's stream. Oh, thank you, Crazy Dad. Thank you. Excuse me. Had a frog in my throat. Okay. So, if you're not yet following the Substack, oh my God, thank you. That's so funny. So if you're not yet following the Substack, you can always get a recap of the news to remind you what's going on, and you can forward it to friends that should care about these things. So be sure to hit the follow button, share the stream, tell a coworker, because all the working people are what's going to fix this country. And ideally, anyone who thinks the court had a quiet week, let them know that they didn't. All right, besties, that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and raid out. Peace, and don't let the bastards grind you down. I'll see y'all on the next one.